couple things going on around the NFL. Our guy, J.C. Treader.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
President of the NFLPA, center for the Cleveland Browns, friend of the show, has been on the show before. Now, the NFLPA, not necessarily friend of the show.
No.
I think this show has been not necessarily as friendly to the NFLPA as J.C. Treader might want, but I think J.C. Treader could even acknowledge the fact that maybe if they were a little bit better at what they did, this show, which is very stern and fair, would treat it as such.
Absolutely.
So I think he actually appreciates that. He's put out a couple different statements from the NFLPA about the way the rules happen in the competition committee, because the initial narrative that was coming out, seeping out, as we were, and I was throwing tantrums about this point of emphasis taunting rule whenever it was announced. I was loud about how this should not be a point of emphasis. I understand it's a rule. If you want to remind teams that it's a rule and have teams handle it, that's okay. But a point of emphasis means, hey, we're going to focus on this, we're going to crack down on this, and we want this to change. It's like, why are we trying to take emotion out of something, especially in the world that we're in right now, in a sport that revolves around emotion? Then a narrative came out somehow. The NFLPA actually were the ones that were looking for this rule. Treader came out and said, nah, that's bullshit. And then Treader came out even more and explained the entire situation in a tweet, in a post.
We're finding it.
He basically said the competition committee consists of 11 people that the commissioner appoints and then one NFLPA representative. And that was kind of our question the entire time. Like, are players involved in any of this tackling or any of these rules in this entire thing? He's like, yeah, we get one spot and it's 11-1 and everybody else is basically voted by Roger Goodell.
Yeah, so, look, yeah, do we know all the 11 people, though? Who is it?
We knew 8 of them.
Coaches and owners or what?
Yeah, so this is the original tweet from the NFLPA. For those who aren't a fan of the new taunting rule, we aren't either. Rules like this are adopted through the competition committee, which includes 11 members, 10 selected by the commissioner, and 1 NFLPA rep. Okay, so the commissioner selects these people. I think Tomlin's on there.
Yeah, Ron Rivera.
And we have heard from some Steelers players, I don't know if it's on air or not air, but Tomlin doesn't necessarily love everything that happens. I think this is a legit, like, hey, you got to have a 6-5 vote here. And I think there's a lot of potential frustration from within. And if the players only have 1 seat at the table, I mean, what the you don't have a seat at the table, by the way. You don't have a seat at the table.
And they're not elected. Like, the committee's not elected by the players or by anybody else. So I would imagine, too, like, say you feel strongly against, like, a potential rule, but it's already, like, heavily in favor, it's going to pass. Like, are you going to sit there and fight it and stay around for another 2 days in these meetings or however they do this? Like, there's no way. Why would you?
Classic married guy. You got to pick your battles. You know, like for this particular one,
it's like politics. It feels like an uphill battle if you truly feel strongly about something. Like, all right, am I willing to dig my heels in here and sit here for 2 days and argue with these guys?
I'm staring down 3 votes that need to be swung the opposite direction, and it appears as if they are very, very firm in their commitment to this. Am I going to do an entire pitch on why this is bullshit and why this won't work? Yes, I will let them know that, but I'm not going to stick around and glad hand everybody and hopefully turn them around, because those people aren't going to turn around. You know why? They were empowered by Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell says, hey, I appreciate your brain. What you do is right. We need you on a competition committee. If Roger Goodell said, hey, Pat, I want you to shape the league for me, like, it'd be hard for me to listen to somebody else too. You know what I mean? I think that would be something difficult. And when it all seems to be coming from the same perspective, or not all, but at least a majority vote seems to be coming from the same perspective, you can see how these bullshit rules happen. And the point of emphasis is my biggest issue. So everybody that is saying, like, you know, it's bad for a game when these scumbags are out, just play football. You know, you don't have to dance on. And I don't want to get into the entire, like, hey, a life could be changed on that play. Not just one life, like 10 of them could be changed, and there should be emotions, and we shouldn't be pulling back emotions. The same things you love in the game of football is provided by emotional people. You want them to be passionate, but you think they're not passionate. Then when they show that they're passionate, it's a penalty. I mean, you can't have it both ways, but it feels like when rules like this happen, it's because the NFL wants to change the way something is going. So it's like the NFL wants to take away emotions from the game is what this feels like to me. And I don't think that's good for the NFL. They just signed a $110 billion deal, so they know a lot better than me, I guess. But why would you ever want to do that? And why would anybody on the competition committee be for it? Maybe they're just completely out of touch with everything, you think?
I'm sure there's definitely some of them that are very out of touch. And I'm sure if you ask them, they wouldn't say, hey, we're not trying to take emotion out. And they have a propaganda clip that's 2.5 minutes long of, hey, look at all this emotion that was not flagged. So I don't know what their argument could be. I'm guessing that would be part of it. But it's all like, don't they say we don't need little kids watching football and thinking it's cool to stand over top of somebody?
Ian Rappaport said that to me, right?
Yeah.
I was like, Ian, well, why don't you just tell your kid, like, hey, that guy worked his ass off to get to that moment, and that was a display of success from all of his hard work. Why don't you tell that? And he said, well, I guess that's right. It's like, yeah.
I've had to do that. Kids do that. Like, 8-year-olds will do that, and I'll see them like do these like celebrations they see, and they'll stand over top of a dude and like stomp him, just do crazy stuff every once in a while during like scrimmages and stuff. Usually during practice, and I have to tell them, like, the other coaches, luckily, they do a good job of shutting them down right away, but like they see it and they do it, but it's not the NFL's responsibility. That's ours as coaches to stop it.
Well, this is like the classic, don't say fuck because my kid will say, well, be a better parent, you know? And I'm not a parent, so I might be speaking out of pocket there. It's like, you should tell your kid, hey, adult, just like cigarettes have an age and gambling has an age and everything that is, you know, come a part of drinking has an age. Like, you can also teach them, like, hey, some of these words you can't say until you're an adult. And that has become something that has just got tossed out the window, by the way. No, it's not this is your job to teach my kid that. It's like, what happened here, you know?